really having a huge belief in yourself and what you're creating and what you want to create and the people that you want to work with and the people that you want to lift up. Like it really means the belief for me. I think that's the beyond part. Like I could imagine committing myself to getting up each day, the basic generals of life, just trying to survive really. But the beyond commitment comes to actually believing in the work that I'm creating. I want to see myself and my work and the people around me strive for something much bigger.
Empower You podcast is devoted to bringing real world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you. Welcome to Empower You podcast. My name is Kidboy Cooper, and I am so glad that you are here. How you doing today? For this episode, we're going to be talking about beyond commitment. That is our topic for this episode. And I want to give you just kind of an idea of where I'm going with this. The reality is, before we see any results, the results of our commitments, we have to continue to lean in, continue to sacrifice, continue to work through whatever difficulties that we're having. And what I'm realizing is that before you get the results of whatever it is that you truly desire, you always have to overcommit beyond what is comfortable. That feeling, that atmosphere of being stretched, of being, of really feeling like you've extended yourself as far as you can. There's a certain determination that comes with that. And that feeling, that overcommitment, I feel like that precedes your actual growth. It's not the other way around. A lot of times I think we anticipate working a certain amount, we get certain feedback, then we start, and then we commit. No. You go far into it, and then you see the results. And that's why a lot of people get stuck, because we want results too early. I've done it myself. And so it's just something that I'm learning, and I think it's worth talking about. We got to start normalizing and uplifting one another when we see someone going down that path. You know, someone is over committing, someone is going beyond just commitment, to the point where they are determined that, this is the only avenue that they're going to pursue. That measure, that dependence on your dream, that urgency, is really, really powerful. So we got to learn how to support each other beyond commitment. So that's what we're going to talk about. Hopefully I didn't get too long-winded there, but it's really something I'm passionate about. And I got a buddy of mine who's on here to talk to us about it. So if you hear us like rambling a little bit, I'll try to cut as much as I can out of it, but we go way back. And so this is a really, really special interview, as well as a great topic for my good friend here. So today we have Stefon Whitaker, who is the CEO of SW Films, which is a budding and growing film company now based in Oakland, California, originating from Angola, Indiana. This guy, I don't think I know anybody who hustles quite as hard as this guy. And I think I'm a hustler. I like to think of myself as a go-getter. But man, I tell you what, you gotta have real good friends, man, who keep you motivated and inspired. And this is definitely one of them. So, Stefan, how you feeling, man? What's going on?
Man, I love that introduction. That introduction, I know I'm feeling good. I love the introduction. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing pretty good.
Good, good, good. Thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate you taking some time to have a good conversation about this, man.
Oh, of course, man. Absolutely. I think this conversation is right up my alley too.
That's
Definitely.
awesome.
Definitely.
Yes. So, tell us about what you're doing. Tell us about your company. Tell us about, your life right now. What's Stefan up to?
Yeah, man. So yeah, I mean, you said it right there. I'm the CEO and founder of SW Films, a growing production company in the Bay Area by way of Indiana. And as far as life right now, man, I mean, I just actually got home yesterday from Indiana, got back into California, back into the Bay. And now it's a big shift in energy, I feel like, coming for me this time. A lot of work has happened the beginning of the year, and a lot of work will continue to pour out for this second half of the year now. And I'll even just a lot of personal things too. Might be moving into a different part of the Bay now by myself,
Mm,
and just continuing to get more clientele here in the Bay Area for SW Films, as well as just being a part of some really awesome productions that are happening in the Bay, whether it's corporate stuff, for like the tech companies out here, or there's a lot of big movies coming out here feature wise, and just more music videos possibly, so a lot of cool stuff is going down for sure. Right now life is pretty good. Life is enjoyable. Life is is still a task as always, but a lot of cool stuff has been happening for sure.
it's wild to me to think about where you were 2 years ago.
Oh man, yeah, that is
24
crazy.
months, man. It's
It's
not
absolutely crazy.
That's not even a long time at all. And
Yeah.
so to see you go from talking about moving to Cali, to then planning it out, to now being out there, going through an entire pandemic, only to be like going strong on the other end of it. A lot of people would have backed up, man, and just come back to Indiana, been like, man, the gig's dried up. Ugh, I'm gonna have to restart, blah, 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 blah. You didn't do that, man. Why didn't you do that?
It's crazy, man. I mean, yeah, last year was a crazy year for all of us. For myself, it did seem wild because I was like, okay, I'm in a new place. I have all these new opportunities, all these cool projects. Like when I moved to California in late 2019, I worked on a lot of pretty cool projects. I mean, right before I had moved, I worked on Big Sean Single Again music video in Detroit, which was incredible. Still one of my favorite productions of all time. And then I had worked when I got to the Bay in October 2019. I'd worked with Pinterest. I worked on a little promo video for Steph Curry, which that was really cool and amazing. I worked on this feature film from like December all the way to June, this like small low budget feature, but that was amazing. I was the key PA on that. That was really cool. And then next thing you know, February rolls around, and I got a chance to work on two really, really gigantic movies, Matrix 4 and Venom 2, and then work with Draymond Green. A bunch of stuff. Like
Wow.
a lot of name
Wow.
drops.
Come on, man. I
But,
hear you. He done said
uh,
Big Sean, Steph
you know,
Curry, Draymond Green. What
you
was it?
know,
Venom? What,
Venom
Matrix? And
2 and Matrix 4. Yeah, I worked on all those in February, and I mean, it was just. It seems like I was really getting the great welcome to the Bay Area.
yeah.
But then all of a sudden, the pandemic happened, and then everything stopped. I didn't work for like 6 months or something like that. At
Oh,
least not on a
God.
film set. I was doing DoorDash for a little while, and honestly, I give it to like DoorDash, and I give it to just doing what we all did during the pandemic, but just we kind of just sat down. You know what I mean? I give it to that, man. I think sitting down a little bit and just like kind of refiguring out what the plan was kind of got me through it, as well as DoorDash, as well as having that opportunity to still be making a slight bit of money, being somewhat of a, I wouldn't really call it an essential worker, but I mean, I guess kind of an essential worker. People needed food and I delivered them food, whenever I wanted to, whenever I could. So that helped out a lot. But also, I just didn't want to give up on what I had set out, because I had plans and goals that I wanted to set out when I first got to California. And while yes, some of that stuff changed for sure because of the pandemic, I just felt like I still wanted to stick to it somehow. I still wanted to run SW Films somehow. And even though SW Films, my first year in California, didn't do too much, the biggest thing out of that was I made my second short film of all time, Sweet Mirage. So that was amazing. But other than that, man, I mean, yeah, I just kept my head to the pavement, you know what I mean? Just said, hey, I'm gonna keep going no matter what, and just, however, whatever kind of deters me off, nothing's really gonna turn me off the path, but just, continue to keep that goal in mind, the bigger picture, keep that in mind.
What comes to mind when you think about, being beyond commitment, because you literally lived through a pandemic and did not lose sight of your goal. Some people are never going to pursue the career that they had prior to the pandemic. They're done. It's over. And I'm not knocking anybody, okay? I'm not knocking you. I think a lot of people are doing whatever they need to do to get themselves back on their feet, and I am not here to judge you. But what we are talking about is the idea that you can be beyond just committed to something, so much so that you withstand everything life throws at you just because you just can't let it go. Yeah. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of being beyond commitment?
Man, I mean, I think for me, it goes even further before the pandemic, honestly. Like, when I think about beyond commitment, I just think about my entire time going through this industry and going through, working professionally as a filmmaker and stuff. So like, for me, I think when me growing up, being from Angola, Indiana, there's not a whole lot of people wanting to do this type of work, you know what I mean? Or the idea of being an entrepreneur. When growing up in Angola, the idea of that was so foreign. Like, people didn't know, like, nobody was an entrepreneur. People wanted to continue to work those regular 9-to-5 jobs, or those factory jobs, or stuff like that. Like, for me myself, I never could see myself in those positions. I worked 3 regular jobs in my entire life, and like, I hated those jobs. I hated all 3 of them. So like, for me, I felt like running my own business and collaborating with people on creating really cool, awesome, stuff that could honestly be very monumental and special to people, internally and stuff like that, or externally. I thought was really a much better thing. So for me, like, beyond commitment, it really just means like really having a huge belief in yourself and what you're creating and what you want to create, in the people that you want to work with and the people that you want to lift up. Like, it really means the belief for me. I think that's the beyond part. Like, being committed to something just in general. Like, I could, if I didn't have the mindset I have now, I could be committed to probably working at McDonald's for however many years. And I did work at McDonald's at one point, and I wasn't committed to that. But like, I could imagine committing myself to getting up each day, going there, the basic generals of life, just trying to survive, really. But the beyond commitment comes to actually believing in the work that I'm creating. Working at McDonald's or working those regular jobs. And I don't want to knock on anybody that works those jobs, because people have to do those jobs. But there's a lot of people who work at those jobs that don't believe in what they're doing, or at least they don't care for what they're doing. Like, they're not trying to be the owner of that franchise or nothing like that. There's people, there's not always a lot of people that want to do that stuff. For me, I want to see myself and my work and the people around me strive for something much bigger. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah,
that's just what it is. I've always I believe in myself more than anybody else will believe in myself. You know, I got to be my own cheerleader half the time, most of the time. So it's just like,
that's right.
you know, being beyond commitment. I just make sure that at the end of the day, how well do I believe in myself? How, like, do I really like be critique? You know, I'm critical of the stuff that I do too, but in a real authentic and, you know, way. I don't really try to strive for too much perfectionism, all that kind of stuff. I just want to make sure that what I'm creating has a place in the world. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. You said so many things there. You said commitment is one thing, but being beyond commitment is something greater. It's, you know, the belief that you truly are serving a purpose, and so it doesn't matter the circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
or how it presents itself. You know, you can absolutely be committed to anything. It could be the right thing, it could be the wrong thing, you know, but being beyond just the idea, because you could have moved back home, or back to Indiana rather, and
Mm-hmm.
said, I'll just be a filmmaker here. You would still be committed to being a filmmaker, but you believe intensely that you're supposed to be where you are in that environment, you know, and that's different. You know, a lot of us can modify or will modify our choices in our life based off of circumstances, based off of resistance. And resistance never stops being there. A lot of times we modify ourselves, or we settle, or we change our plans because of the resistance we're encountering. But the resistance is not going to change. It may give you some gratification that now all of a sudden the resistance is not as in your face,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to have resistance even when you're settling, even when you're not believing, you know, that what you're doing serves a purpose. Even when you're not committed to that belief, you're just committed to doing, to being. And that's an entirely different ball game, man. That belief
Yeah.
is so critical, man. And I resonate with that when you said that. That was really, really great,
Yeah,
man.
man. A lot of my, I guess, experiences and stuff, you know, as creative, you know, I've seen people who want that instant gratification. And I feel like as creatives, sometimes we do, no matter what, even at this time now, there's times where I definitely want instant gratification. But at the same time, I realize that there's a process to everything, and not every single process is supposed to be short, you know, short-winded or nothing, or even long-winded. Like, you know, there's the process is how long it's gonna be, you know, like from the jump. So yeah, no, absolutely. I think being beyond commitment is really kind of looking way further than what you believe in just in your career, but also what you think about personally in your life too. You know, you have to almost kind of really, at least from my experience, mesh a lot of that stuff together, just in the way you think, the way you sleep, the way you eat, all that kind of stuff. It has to kind of go beyond that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just touched on something, you know, that I hadn't really thought about earlier. You know, as far as our commitments being formed by our environment more times than not.
Yeah.
And so we have to be beyond just committed to existing, which is what maybe your environment dictates, or going back and forth to work, which is what your environment dictates, which is, you know, there's any number of commitments that we just default have. But that's
Mm-hmm.
different than truly believing in yourself and a certain mission that you have that goes beyond just normal functions, that goes beyond just status quo. And you saying that, you know, your commitments to things can be often shaped around what your reality is at the time, not necessarily your preferred reality. So
Yep.
seeing your commitments through to a larger vision, to a larger purpose, you know, that is where that belief comes in. You can't take up that much room unless you truly believe in something or yourself. And so, you know, I had not really associated the two until you said that. It's just like, yeah, your commitments are absolutely tied to the environment that you grew up in, or the ideology, the philosophy that you followed in your formative years.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's really great. What's been the biggest realization that you've had about your own belief? Have you frightened yourself at all?
Mm.
Because I
Yeah.
think sometimes I can scare myself with how committed I can be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, I've been doing film professionally now for 5 years, and most of that 5 years has always been freelance work. So, like, you know, I don't belong to a certain entity. You know, I run my own company, but also at the same time here in the Bay Area, you know, outside of SW Films, I'll be a production assistant on different things, or, you know, work on other different departments. Maybe might be a camera operator somewhere on different projects, but usually that's all freelance work. So it's basically like after every single job, or after one job, say I work a job for like 2-3 days, after that job, I'm basically unemployed until the next job. So, you know, it's kind of crazy to think about that, but it's crazy to think how committed I am in that realm, because it's like, wow, you know, it's very like it's very easy to, it can be very easy to give up on this type of job if I didn't have my mind set the way it is. Like, I could easily give up. I could stop working. I could say, you know, I don't want to get up and do that job today. I could sleep in every single day. I could eat hella junk food. I can do all this stuff every single day and just give up on it that quick. And I could settle for certain things, you know, like there's certain things in my life where I'm like, you know, I just want to settle, get a girlfriend, start a family early, you know, and just, you know, just work a job that would be very easy to, you know, easy to bring in the, you know, the money, the bread, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, that stuff can be kind of scary, because it's like, wow, I realized how easy it is, especially when I was living in Indiana, because in Indiana, I wasn't making near as much money as I'm making now. But also, like in Indiana, I was in much more of a comfort zone. You know, I was living with my mom back home. You know, I had all my friends and stuff from high school around me. I was in the areas that I grew up in all my life, you know, all my life at that point. So it could have been so easy to just latch on to what they do. But the thing is like, I never was into the, you know, the follower type of thing. Like, I wanted to, you know, do my own thing and lead my own way and all that kind of stuff. So I was just lucky that I didn't fall into that trap back then. But now, you know, I don't really have a comfort zone here, even though I've lived here for a year and a half now, that I haven't built up a comfort zone, just because, you know, the Bay Area is so expansive. There's so many different cultures. There's so many different opportunities. There's big industry here. And it's just like, you know, being too comfortable would be a huge mistake, you know, no matter what out this way. But as far as being like overly committed, being scared, yeah, I think I've been more scared of that because of what it maybe has done to my personal life. You know, I feel like my personal life, I lack a lot more of that than I do in my career life. And I'm starting to realize that, especially this year, like sometimes I feel like now I'm starting to realize that, you know, I'm a little shallow-ish. A little bit. I'm starting to realize that.
I need to know.
You
know.
know,
You don't get to skate over that, man.
yeah, like shallow,
what
man.
you mean?
Like shallow. I think shallow in, well, one, in relationships. I think shallow just in terms of maybe who or what I'm interested in. I mean, I'm interested in a lot of different things, but I think maybe when it comes to the certain things that I'd rather for sure, like in reality, latch to, whether it's just like a relationship with somebody, or, you know, maybe a certain type of food. I'm definitely like shallow with the food. I'm a picky eater. There, you know, just certain things, just certain life experiences. I'm starting to realize, like, man, you know, I only have a few little things that I like. But when it comes to career wise, you know, work wise, like there's a million different things that, you know, I like to, well, not even with work too, even just with shallow with some work. There's only certain type of, I do music videos, commercials, and films. And that's kind of it, you know, and I feel like that part is fine. But when it starts to bleed into the real, like the personal side, it's like, oh man. Then that's when I realized that, I'm not really focusing too much on my personal life, and I'm just only focusing on what the work can do. And
Yeah.
yeah, man, it can be scary for sure.
Oh, man, you're preaching to the choir, man. You're preaching to the choir, man. I feel like I've done a lot of sacrificing, and I'd do it again. That's the thing. I would do it again. You know why?
Yeah,
Because I truly believe beyond what is comfortable, that I'm doing the right thing.
absolutely.
And I believe that by itself, along with my work ethic and my commitment, are gonna open up doors that I couldn't have even thought of. So the things that I do feel picky about, those are all growing pains, and I would say the same thing to you, man. Not that I'm, a therapist, nor do I play one on TV, but
I can see you playing one on TV.
oh God. But I think, we grow into that, right?
Yeah.
We have to go through a weeding out phase. There are some things, especially, after some of the relationships I've been in, I just will not accept, bro. I just won't. There are some foods just not going to eat. There are some jobs I'm just not going to do.
Yeah.
I've just reached a point in my life where I believe I'm supposed to be doing certain things, and so that's what I am attracted to. And so those are the things that I'm also drawn to, because that's what I'm becoming. So I don't think there's don't get me wrong. I agree with you with the whole, you gotta figure out how to be as rich personally as you are fulfilled in your career. I think there's some balance there. The pandemic definitely kind of told on everybody on that aspect. But
yeah.
yeah, but I think it's that commitment, right? I believe there's going to be an answer to that through this journey that I'm going through, because it affects everything if you allow it to. Your belief system affects everything. The way that you believe you can get more clients, you manifest better clients. The way that you believe you can be more open to a relationship, that same belief that you just exercised is now going to make you that much more susceptible to better things. So I think the one kind of feeds into the other, even though it kind of looks, you still got to be intentional, right? But
Yeah.
I think over time, it will even out if you remain intentional. A lot of times, that beyond commitment can get out of control. That's why I asked you about that. Do you ever scare yourself? Because for me, sometimes I'm so determined, I just know. And, I'm ready to do whatever it takes. Now, the enthusiasm is fine, but sometimes you don't have to go the absolute hardest route to get there. Like, that part was unnecessary. You just put yourself through whatever. Like, I had a discussion about leaving a job I was at once. I was like, man, I'm about to quit this job, bro. And a buddy was like, why? I was like, because I hate it. I'm doing this and things are going well, yada, yada, yada. He was like, well, why don't you set a date? And then once you get a date to do, you work up to that point, you accomplish whatever your savings goal is or whatever like that, and then leave. Don't just go there tomorrow and put in your 2 weeks. Like, you haven't even thought about this long enough to really, and that's what I mean when I say, you can scare yourself, because the belief is not the problem, but there's some tact to how you can go through life, and sometimes it can get a little edgy, Yeah,
just sometimes you maybe not think quick enough or think well enough in certain decisions and stuff like that. But even just like, I think it goes into sometimes being into a whole different realm. Like, sometimes what I've noticed about myself in the last few years is being more of, I'll be in this dream realm to where it's like, it's nothing but the work. It's nothing but the future that I'm thinking of. Like, and then I forget about the reality of like where I'm at in certain situations, like financially, or in certain relationships with certain people, I'll forget about that because I'm stuck in this other realm real quick of dealing with
Hmm.
what I'm creating. And, as a filmmaker, as a film director and a writer, which is my main thing that I do in the industry, is like, I have to be in those realms a lot of the time, especially when I'm planning on, creating something, or I'm thinking about the future all the time. I'm kind of thinking about, I'm in that realm to where I'm only thinking about those different stories and
Yeah.
those characters and the world that I'm trying to portray, which is, usually based around realism, but based around a lot of surrealism too. So I have to take myself out of that sometimes to remind myself, like, okay, Stefon, you need to pay off that debt. You need to build your credit up. You need to, get an oil change. You need to get food. Like, those things is
Man.
what scare me, because I'm in that dream realm all of the time. Like, I'm a dreamer 1000%. And sometimes I need to get
Yeah.
myself out of that, to kind of put myself back on focus. That can be, I think that's probably the scariest thing for me, is like sometimes like being too stubborn to reality.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Being too stubborn to reality is a big issue that I have sometimes, for sure.
Today is the day, and now is the time. If you have a good idea, good intentions, and are looking for a way to get audience and to get your great message out to the world, I encourage you to start your very own podcast. You would be surprised the amount of folks who are waiting to hear your content. My name is Kid Boy Cooper, and I have been an audio engineer for the past 7 years, and I am offering one-on-one coaching to help you get through the beginning stages of creating your very own podcast. Please reach out to me and let me know how I can help you. My email address is empoweryoupodcast@gmail.com. We offer one-on-one coaching, a live masterclass, and even a 10-module course that will take you through the entire process of creating, producing, and distributing your podcast to your very own listeners. This is a great avenue to connect with your audience and to connect with people who are in need of your voice. Again, reach out to me at empoweryoupodcast@gmail.com and let's get your podcast started today.
Being able to bring that stuff from that dream realm to the reality is the whole point. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing that I'm trying to do. But yeah, it all takes time, and being self-aware I really think that was the first step, really being self-aware, and once again the belief system.
We all have certain default commitments, and sometimes the commitments that you grow up with are not serving you anymore. They're not helping you anymore. They maybe even hindering you. They maybe have transferred or translated into bad spending habits, into bad emotional habits, into bad drinking habits, into bad whatever. Um, we all have commitments. We all do. So for those of you who are listening and you're just enjoying, I want you to start thinking about the commitments that you have, commitments to yourself, commitments to your family, even a commitment to your dog. They expect you to do something and you do it every time, right? That's a commitment. So doing an audit on the commitments that you have in your life can tell you a lot about where you're going and what kind of life you can expect to have based off of the things that you're committed to now. So, my question to you, Stefon, is just how are you navigating? How do you navigate detrimental or toxic commitments?
Honestly, man, observation. That's one. That's always been one for me, is observation. And what I mean by that is, like, I see some of the other detrimental commitments that I've seen other people in my life take on,
Mm,
and realize that, oh, those that commitment wouldn't play well for me.
hmm.
Whether it's drinking habits, smoking habits, spending habits. Now, spending habits a little different.
Yeah, man. That gear is
Spending,
expensive, bro.
yeah, the gear is expensive, and not only that, but like living in the Bay Area is expensive. Like, now that I'm back home, I'm thinking, like, when I was home just a while ago in Indiana, like, I wasn't really having to, like, I was staying at my mom's place, so I didn't have to buy too much food. She's making some food. You know what I mean? Like, now that I'm back, I'm like, dang, I'm thinking about what am I gonna eat tonight, and I know I'm probably gonna have to eat out because like I'm gonna have to buy all these. I gotta buy hella groceries and stuff right now, or not right now, but eventually. And I'm like, man, I don't feel like making no food inside. Well, all that different kind of stuff. But detrimental commitments. I mean, for me, I have to look at it from a realistic lens. I have to think to myself, well, one, as a black man, what kind of this commitment? What could this commitment mean for me, just in that term, just in that lifestyle, and making sure that I don't do anything to to look crazy or to blur like my vision, my knowledge of certain things. But really, I like really observation. I feel like a lot of the commitments that I take on right now in my life are very beneficial, very needed. There's a few commitments that I think, neglect a little bit, and that's more in the personal realm. But I just make sure that like the commitments that I have to take care of, like I make sure to stay on top of those, and I make sure that I don't put too much noise around me. So basically, like
That's a really good one.
basically, yeah, like basically what I mean for that is just like sometimes I'll get so busy with a million different things, and then I'll end up making those detrimental commitments to something, like because I wasn't paying attention to certain things. So what that means is like sometimes I'll live a boring life, which I know people hear that and think, what does that even mean? Like you're doing all these cool things. Yes, those projects are really amazing. They're really cool. But like outside of that, like I'm not doing nothing crazy. You're not gonna see me at the club. You're not gonna see me at the bar drinking and taking shots with the homies all the time. Or, I'm gonna make sure that I'm in the house half the time. I'm gonna be in the house either editing, and if I'm not working at the house, I'm probably gonna be watching YouTube, watching movies or, chilling. Like I'll make sure to live a boring life until I can get to that point where I'm trying to get to the bigger picture, to where I can, give myself, what I definitely deserve, what my family deserves. But just not too much noise. I make sure not to like, drown myself out with just unnecessary things, unnecessary meetups with certain people. Like, I'm always down to talk to different people, but sometimes I'm not going to waste my breath on a certain conversation or a certain argument or anything like that. So I just keep that stuff to the side, and just focus on what's really important. So really just drown it, like, pushing out all the noise, observing some of the other people's commitments that, I realized wouldn't be good for me, and just keeping focus on a few things at a time. I think adding too much commitment all at once can be, I think, is a very that's detrimental. Honestly, that's really very detrimental. Just adding so many different things all at once, and that's actually something that I've improved on a lot this year. I haven't been rushing myself as much as I used to, and I think it's because I started to finally realize to myself that there's no such thing as perfect timing. I said that on one of my posts about SW films, that there's no such thing as perfect timing, and that really helped me out a lot, because I realized to myself, like, from the pandemic, I was like, yo, I'm gonna get this movie made and this movie made and do all this kind of stuff. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, I've only been here for I've almost been in the Bay now for 2 years. It'll be 2 years in October, and it's just like, it's just taking time. It's taking time. Like I'm not supposed to at this moment have this certain thing get made or meet this particular person. It's taking time, and it's not trying to rush out all of these ideas and all of these creations and projects all at once. It's taking time, like, so that's kind of how it helps me, stay away from those negative commitments, those detrimental commitments that could, really just hold me back and slow me down.
What's your suggestion to someone else on how to be beyond commitment, how to believe beyond commitment? You just talked about how, you just said a lot of very good things, keeping the noise down. It's very difficult to maintain belief when everybody is just speaking something different into you. and maybe everything you watch, all the news, maybe your friends, maybe music, everything is saying something different. And so when you close that down and you start reading more books and you start listening to more audio or maybe more podcasts or get a mentor, like somebody that will continue to help you stay congruent, consistent in whatever your thought pattern is, I think it's so much easier to manifest the results that way.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
you talked about getting rid of the noise. I want, again, to anyone listening to this, think about all of the different things, influences that you have. Think about your commitments, and now think about the influences that you have.
Yeah.
There's going
Absolutely.
to be some ties in between there. And so if you're wanting to change your life, if you're wanting to do something different than what you've already done, you got to check and see what you're committed to first. But then also you have to figure out what is speaking into you. What is adding to the dialogue in your thoughts and in your heart and in your spirit. That's what he's talking about, keeping the noise down. Stop being so engaged in everything else.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, man.
difficult, man. That's
It's
difficult because
difficult.
you feel compelled to always be on the scene, or at least I do.
Honestly, like, don't be afraid to miss out on stuff. Like,
Mm.
people have FOMO, fear of missing out. And it's crazy. Like my ex-girlfriend, shout out to her. She told me straight up. Yeah, she straight up told me, like, yeah, she has FOMO, that she has that. And I'm just like, I never understood it, just because when I was in college, matter of fact, like, I would go on Snapchat and see all my friends doing all these little fun things, these little parties and stuff like that, and most of the friends were either back home or maybe they, were in college, but they were back home on some of these little vacations and just chilling out with all the friends. And at that time, I remember missing out on some things because I was all the way in Florida. I went to Full Sail University. And, when I remember close to my time graduating college, I was like, you know what? I honestly, like, didn't like the idea of going back to Angola, because I realized that, half the stuff that a lot of my friends were doing at the time was just stuff that I thought was a waste of time, like a complete waste of time. And, it was so much noise happening for them.
Yeah.
I just, for myself, I said, I don't want that. Like, I was one of those people, and I think it's one of the things in the 48 Laws of Power. I could be wrong. But like, the idea of, like, I don't want to just be somewhere all the time so people just get used to me. I don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
Where people can just get used to me. Like, sometimes I want to make it a privilege whenever whenever people get a chance to see me, or whenever I pop up around people. I want that to be a privilege, you know what I mean? So for me, it was just like, I was never afraid of missing out on anything. Like, I don't like, oh, I missed out on this certain party or this certain event. I don't care. It probably wouldn't have benefited me if I would have showed up to that thing, or if I had put my focus on that. And that goes not only just to personal stuff, because I feel like for me, it's always been personal things. Like, I never cared about, oh, I want to go out to the bar with with the homies and take a drink. Like, I had a friend right before I left who wanted to invite me out to the bar to take a shot with him. It was like a day or two before I was getting ready to leave. And I told him straight up, I said, no. Like, I'm not going to spend my last few days here at the bar, and yeah, like, from the Snapchats, it looked fun. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I'm glad I don't need to go to that. Like, I don't need to show my face to that, because it doesn't do anything for me. Yeah, I could probably see some interesting people and have a conversation, but in reality, what is that going to do? Especially in my life now. Maybe back then I would have enjoyed that, but now I don't. But in personal, in workspaces too, sometimes there's people who want to work with you or work with me, and sometimes it's like, nah, I don't need to be involved with that. And I think I'm starting to really realize that now. I'm actually kind of limiting a lot of my work that I'm gonna, like, as far as client work that I'm gonna be doing back in, like, Fort Wayne and Angola, mainly just because the prices, the budget that a lot of people have are very small.
Mm-hmm.
People want to work with me a lot now back home, now that they're seeing a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, but they still can't afford me. So it's like, I can't keep working with y'all when it's just like, when the prices, when the budget they have is super low. But There's like certain people, it's like, man, there's certain people that would be like, oh, they'd be a cool person to work with, or whatever. It'd be cool to go out to that event and actually talk to that person. Yeah, but I think to myself, like, you know what? Yeah, it would be cool, but I'm not afraid to miss out on that. A perfect example too about noise or just like fear of missing out. There's a guy named Rory Kramer. I don't know if you've heard about him, but Rory Kramer has done a bunch of stuff. He's from, I don't know where he's from exactly, but he's done a lot of stuff for like Justin Bieber and all that kind of stuff. And he had his own little show on MTV. He's a videographer who lived at Clear Lake, Indiana, which is basically Fremont, Indiana. And I remember when I heard about Justin Bieber coming to Angola at the venue, the bar up there, I was hella surprised. I was in college at the time. It was like 2015. I'm like, what? Justin Bieber was in my hometown? Like, that's some pretty big shit. I was like, that's crazy. And then when I got home, a lot of people was like, yo, man, you should work with Rory Kramer. You should meet him, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, it'd be great to. But at the same time, I didn't have that interest all the time, because I think a lot of people were just thinking like, oh, you meet Rory Kramer, that's your ticket to doing big stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, man, no, I got my own way. I made my own way. And no disrespect to Rory or nothing like that, but it's just like, I didn't have that interest, and I didn't take that path. I didn't reach out like to say what's up like that, So that was kind of it, And if I did reach out to say what's up to him, I'm not asking, hey man, can I work with you? No, I'm just saying, the only thing I've been interested in is like, yo, how did you get your start? That's it. I'm interested in being in the same spaces. If we're in the same spaces, it's clearly off of coincidence, or clearly off of, purpose. But, other than that, nah. So I would say for people, don't be afraid to miss out on stuff. I mean, don't be afraid. Like, not every single event, not every single like get together, not every single, little moment, that seems like it could be fun for you personally or fun for you business wise. Sometimes those things aren't going to be super beneficial, and they'll end up probably slowing you down a lot of times. So I've always just stated that, like, I don't always need to go out and do this and do that and be mixy with people. Like, I don't have to do that. And I think that just also comes based off of my like personality. Sometimes I feel like a little bit I'm an antisocial extrovert. The word to Kendrick Lamar.
That's a great description.
That also helps out. That also helps out, being antisocial extrovert.
Yeah, I mean, in 10 years, most of the stuff that we're worried about, not gonna matter.
Exactly.
Not gonna matter. I was listening to a clip from Rick Ross, and he was talking about that. He said, in 10 years, nobody's gonna care what clothes you were driving, or what car you had, or, how much fun you had, whatever. They're gonna look at what you built around you, who benefits off of that, and what it's worth. Right. And for some of us, we're designing our lives based off of things that are not going to be important in 10 years. You're designing your whole life around hanging out with your family, your people, whoever those people are. And it is very important that we be mindful to design our lives based on things that are going to still be significant 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
And if we're not willing to, well, then we're forfeiting the future that we could have. And that's absolutely where that beyond commitment. You're still committed to getting up every day and doing life, but not in a way that is intentional and that is vibrant enough to sustain you. I don't know. Right. Everybody needs different things. To you all who are listening to this, you might completely disagree. We are just talking about what that looks like for us. And sharing some things. So what would be your number one suggestion to our listeners on how to live beyond commitment, or in belief, not just commitment? That's what this should say. Belief versus versus commitment. I might have to, we'll see how this goes, but yeah.
I think, man, really, I mean, before I get into what I would say the advice would be, I just remember, this kind of goes into one of my first pieces of real advice. And I think this kind of goes maybe within the industry that we're both in. But like, I remember I mentored like 3 different people. Like I had at least 3 different times I mentored people, and I was with these people for a little while. My first person I mentored wanted to be a model. Second person I mentored wanted to be an actor. Third person I mentored wanted to be an actor and a model. And then the fourth person I mentored, it's actually 4 people. The fourth person I mentored actually wanted to be like a YouTube star and all that kind of stuff, and singer, all these different kind of things. And all 4 of those people that I mentored, they ultimately, it was ultimately a failed experiment. Mainly because the very first thing I got from every single one of them is that they wanted that instant gratification. They wanted the very first thing that they saw when it came to those particular types of jobs was the gold, the glory, the you know, all the great stuff that comes with being, you know, those kind of industries, those kind of jobs, right? But they didn't realize how hard it would be to get there. And, you know, I would say, you know, because I have something in the works plan that I do want to like kind of help people out with, you know, about actually just going for those particular industries, you know, in a creative field. But a lot of people, when they look at being a singer, an actor, a model, they think that they're going to be rich instantly the moment they start doing it. They don't think that it's going to take them years to get to it. I've been doing this stuff for 5 years now. What it looks like to some people, because some people are very, you know, not too knowledgeable about the specific work that it is that I do in the industry. Like, yes, I worked on Matrix, and yes, I worked on Venom 2, and I met all these cool people, met Keanu Reeves, drank with Woody Harrelson on Venom 2, a bunch of cool stuff I've done. But like, don't get it twisted. I am not financially set to where I can just be comfortable and happy. And I will be happy when I can get my mom a home or a car, or can make my family feel comfortable to where they don't have to worry about lifting a finger to help me out anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
In the moment where I help myself out, in the moment where I can just like get up and just like, you know, not do whatever I want, but I can get up in my own house that I own and sit in my own movie theater in my home. You know, like there's certain things like that is where I know where I'm like financially set.
Yeah.
And where certain things are really happening. You know, and I realized, like, I think the moment I realized that this industry is gonna take me a long time to get to where I want to be, because yes, I'm in a great spot, but I'm not where I want to be. Absolutely not. I'm far away from that, truthfully. But I'm definitely close to I have my foot in the door, but I'm not fully in the building just yet. You know?
Yeah,
So,
man. And it takes
you know,
time.
so yeah, it takes time. Like I said, I'm 5 years in, and I think I'm trying to think to myself what 5 more years will look like, and I have an idea of what that will look like. You know, but the thing is don't look for like instant gratification. We all want that. I still want that in a lot of cases, but I have to understand that, I can't look at this job in this industry, in this career, as I'm going to get rich right off the bat. I don't think about the money. I can do this job for free. I've done this job for free. Still, I've done free gigs literally this year. I've done at least 1 or 2 free gigs. You know, like I have passion for this job. So that's one. Building up a real genuine passion is a big one. And then understanding and really believing yourself, cutting out the noise. There's going to be lots of people that do not believe in your stuff. And there's going to be a lot of people who love you, who claim to love you, that they do not believe in your stuff. There's people to this day that they may still see what I've done and still may not believe in me. And that's fine. Or they don't support publicly. And that's fine. Those people, whether they're family or friends, I don't want to say I don't care about them. But I don't care about what they think about me, or if they don't support me. They're almost close on the line of where I don't care about them. But I don't like, I believe in me. You know, I think about what I want to do. I look at my future in that dream realm and in that reality realm, and I find a good balance between both of those. Um, and like I said, I cut out the noise. I think that's the biggest thing. I cut out the noise as much as possible. And I really believe in myself to the point to where I believe in myself to the point where like I could think about the future, like the stuff that I want to create and the stuff that and how I want my life to be, to the point where I'll get teary-eyed damn near, of just like I can really envision it. Like I drive to the Oakland Hills. Like I think in life I would probably want to move to the Oakland Hills at a certain point when I get that money that I plan on getting. I drive over there and just envision where my house could be, envision what the life would be like. Take a stroll from, this is where I would live at, take a stroll to the spots where I would go get groceries, or the spots where I would go do this and go do that. Like I try to put my dream realm, my practice, my future dream realm where I want to be, I try to put that into reality where I'm at now and scope it out. Like I'm a damn video game or something. That's how I kind of go through life sometimes. I go through life as it's somewhat of a video game. It's a challenge. You know what I mean? And it really is a challenge, but at the same time, I try not to take it too seriously all the time. I try to just live life and not burn myself out. But I mean, I think my biggest advice once again is don't get, I guess the best way to kind of sum it up is don't try to go through life thinking that you're just about to, I don't want to say strike gold, but especially if you're doing something in this career path, you have to understand that there is a path that you have to take, and that path is not going to be 3-4 steps and it's over. It might be 100 steps. I feel like I've been on the 100 steps, and I feel like I have 1 million more to go.
Man, that is a bar.
You have to be fine with that.
That is a bar, man. He said it might not be 1 or 2 steps. It could be 100 steps, and you have to take every one of them.
Yeah. And
I think that's so true, especially when we think about instant gratification and the dopamine that we get. Before I started this podcast, I'd done a bunch of other things, like I had started the YouTube channel. I had an entirely different, online offer. It took trial and error to figure out how I could really serve and what was going to be most authentic to me. And once I started to really do the things that I felt were the most authentic to me, things started to change. But that's because I put myself in that through all of that prior to. I believed way before it was making sense. I believed I was beyond committed way before, there was any notoriety that went with it, before there was a podcast with a nice logo, before there was any of these things. I was still committed way, 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 way back then. And absolutely, that right there, for your audience, you already believe something that much. You just may not believe in yourself that much. You may believe that life will disappoint you that much, and that's why it keeps disappointing you. You may believe that, life sucks that much, and that's why life sucks. You may believe that you don't have the talent to do whatever it is, and that's why you may not have developed a talent to do whatever it is that you're thinking. Like, we manifest what we are into the world, and it comes back to us. Mm-hmm. I posted a video on Instagram, and I had a buddy who said, "Hey man, like your caption's too loud," or something like that. And I was just like, okay. I mean, I'm gonna post another one soon. Doesn't really matter. And I don't think it was any ill intent. I just know that I'm going to keep doing this regardless. So if that one was slightly out of balance, okay, well, just chuck it up as a loss and keep on moving, because it's all about those thousands of steps. You just got to keep taking steps. And before you know it, you'll have so much behind you already, So before we roll into the thought exercise, I just want you to think about this. As you're listening to this, you are already beyond commitment to something. You just have to decide what it is. You have to uncover what it is. And once you realize what it is that you have been committed to, then you can make a decision to change that commitment, change the agreement you have with that thing, with that idea, with that belief. And that is
Yeah.
what can help you move beyond that. Because a lot of what I'm noticing is that, we already have the determination, the willpower. It's just some people enjoy, doing drugs more than they enjoy working hard for something, and it's just a commitment. It doesn't mean that they're any less of a person. It's just your priority is not something that's going to serve you long term. That's the issue. It's not because you're a terrible human no, you just have a certain relationship with this that allows you to be so committed that you make it work every time. So what if, and you can apply this to whatever it is that's going on in your life personally as a listener. What if you were just as committed to yourself as you are to trying to meet your boss's approval, as you are to trying to live up to your parents' standards, as you are to trying to live up to the standards of your church? What if you were just as committed, if you were beyond committed, beyond believing in yourself, that you actually showed up for yourself the way that you show up for other people? It could be completely different. It could be nothing we're talking about in this podcast, in this episode. None of this is novel. It's just what we've chosen to believe. And that belief has manifested into really cool stuff, into some really great unique opportunities, to work on with movie stars. And that's some cool stuff, man. You are at the fountain, man. It's there's nothing wrong with that, man. I'm proud of you, and I think it just shows the things that you're committed to. So I think that's a task for all of us to decide and to determine, then decide what you're actually committed to, because you're already committed. Don't tell me you can't do it. Don't allow yourself to think that, because that too is a commitment.
I remember saying that to one of the people I was mentoring. Don't tell me, I said, don't ever talk to me saying that you can't do this thing. Don't tell me that you can't do it, and don't tell yourself that you can't do it. You know what I mean? I think another thing that I think we forgot to mention is failure also is also a huge thing that people have to understand is going to happen on your path. There's going to be a lot of failures, but it's also going to equate to a lot of wins, big, strong wins. One little failure will come back to make you to have a ground stomping, win. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people have to not be afraid to fail. There's too many people who think, there's a lot of people I've met a lot recently who sometimes they can get very egotistical and think that they can just do anything, that they can be good at anything, and they think that they might never fail. But when they fail, it kind of hits them internally hard, pretty hard. And it's myself, I'm not going to say, look, I'm not just going to hop on a piano and be like, no, I'm Stefon Whitaker. I know I can do a damn piano. No, I know I can't. Self-awareness. I'm aware of certain things that I can't do. You know what I mean? So I never try to act like I can just do anything in the world and just win at it. No, that's not how it is. Even if I try to practice at it, I realize I'm never going to think that I can just do this one time and be good at it after that. No, there's always a process to those certain things that you want to get yourself involved in. And you have to understand that failure plays a huge part in those processes, but also failure is just a huge part of life. And you have to accept that, you have to accept that. And you have to learn how to make failure feel good, if that makes sense. You have to learn how to make it not feel like it's always a punch to the gut every single time you fail. A failure should just be whatever. It's just it's a lesson. It's a lesson. It's not a complete disregard of who you are and the type of stuff that you're able to do. It's just a lesson. It's how it prepares you for what to do the next time around.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I completely agree with that. That's, yeah, man. Failure's like the buddy system.
Yeah.
It reminds you to lock your car doors and to put your seatbelt on, and
Yeah.
it's the reality, the gravity that goes along with every one of those 1,000 steps. You can't even make the steps if you don't have any gravity. If it's not constantly present, you really can't have any type of momentum. So it's just all part of it, and that's our beliefs, our commitment to our beliefs about ourselves will tell us more about failure than the failure itself.
Absolutely, yeah.
It'll tell you stories like, oh, this is why this happened when you were a kid, because blah, 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 and this is why nobody likes you, and this is why, it's just like, that's not even what the failure was saying. But it's just because of what you have going on, it displays itself that way. I've noticed this about myself. I'll go through something and you're just like beating yourself down. I'm like, wait, this doesn't even have anything to do with anything.
Yeah.
It's just you know what I mean? Like, and so you just kind of gotta, catch yourself. We over here preaching, y'all. Sorry. Oh, well, I'm not sorry. But, I told you this was gonna happen. I did give you guys a warning before we started this episode. I really did. Okay, listen. So we're gonna do a thought exercise with my buddy Stefon, and then we're gonna let you guys go. Thank you all so much for listening. The email for Empower You Podcast is empoweryoupodcast@gmail.com. That's what it is. So if you have comments, you can put them in the reviews. You can also leave us a 5-star review while you're there, but you can also email me. Tell me what you think. I would love to read your letters, your emails on a podcast and just connect with you some more. Come on over to Empower You Podcast on Instagram or on Facebook. I think there's a Twitter one out there too. I don't use the Twitter one very much, but come on over there. Talk to me. Tell me what you think. I was reading some reviews this week and I was like, wow, I want to hear more about you, the listener, and what you like and what you don't like and what you think and what you don't think. Let me know. I'm happy to invite you onto the show to talk to you about some things that maybe you got on your heart. So yes, we're gonna do a thought exercise in just a moment here, but I'm going to talk about a program that I offer while you prepare your thought exercise, okay?
Sweet.
All right. So, as most of you all know, I'm the founder and creator of Empower You Podcast. But what you may not know is that I have a program where I teach you how to start your podcast to create impact and income with your podcast, as I have done and as I work with my clients to do. So in this program, I provide both pre-recorded content and live coaching and Q&A sessions where we go through everything. I mean, topics, type, logo, platform, audience, recording, production, you name it. We go through all of it in this 12-week program. And I want you to go to www.workwithkidboycooper.com and schedule an appointment, a discovery call, so we can talk about getting your podcast started. If you are a business or aspiring business owner and you're looking for an opportunity, a way to gather your perfect client, your listener, in such a way that you can serve them and also offer them something that will solve a problem for them, I think podcasting is your answer. I know podcasting is your answer based off of the things that are happening in the market, the things that are happening in my life, and the things I'm seeing happen with clients. I'm really, really happy to be able to offer you a free discovery call where we can talk about what the next steps are for your podcast. It doesn't mean you have to work with me, but I do want to give this out as a resource because you guys have been good to me and I want to make sure that I'm good to you. If you know somebody or you yourself want to take advantage of this offer, let me know. Again, you can go to www.workwithkidboycooper.com discoverycall.com. This will be in the show notes, and I hope you will go ahead and get on the calendar. My calendar tends to fill up, so make sure that you go ahead and schedule your free discovery call. And if we decide on that call that this is a good fit and that you want to work with me, then we can maybe get that stuff started. I will tell you, I am not a free service and I am not a cheap service, but I value results and I get results. So if this is something that's interesting to you, go ahead and go to the website. It will be also in the show notes, and we can go ahead and get your discovery call started today. And if it's not interesting to you and you just, need some help or need some insight, that's cool too. I really want to see you create your podcast, and I just hope you'll invite me on. That's all. I just want to be able to hear about your podcast. So, again, thank you so much for listening. And Stefon, are you ready with our thought exercise?
I think I'm ready.
All right.
All right. So, something that some people can do. I have at least 3 things, and this kind of goes from mental to emotional and probably physical as well. I would say the first thing that would be mental. Well, actually, the first thing that would be kind of all of these things is to take a week off to do absolutely nothing. We go, like, as human beings, we do so much in our lives. We do so much with our work and stuff to try to, like, work, to work through things and all that kind of stuff. I know for myself, when I was working recently in Indiana, I had 3 productions that I had to do. They were all pretty close to each other. And I had to do a lot of stuff. A lot of people think, just go up and film. No, I had to create call sheets for every single shoot. I had to create talent release forms for every single shoot. I had to create shot lists for every single shoot. I had to make sure that what kind of equipment I was using. I had to make sure what kind of crew I had and what kind of cast is there. There's so much different stuff that had to take place in all 3 of these productions. I'm like, wow, I need to take a break. So I took an entire week off. Didn't do anything. I slept in almost every single day of the week. I had a few little work things to do, but I slept in. I didn't do much at all. I caught up on hella YouTube videos, and I took a week off. I didn't do anything. Literally did not do anything. I didn't have to think about work. I didn't look at any of the footage. I didn't do a damn thing. And basically what I mean is take a break. We have to understand that, we love to grind. It's great to, work from sun up to sundown and all this kind of crazy stuff. But truthfully, we cannot be the best we can if we don't take care of ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. But we can't do all those things if we don't take care of ourselves. So resting your body, resting your mental is so, so important. And I'm starting to realize that more. I'm starting to plan out when I'm going to take breaks, honestly. I never used to plan to take a break. I usually just took a break, maybe if I got too tired or whatever. But no, I'm starting to plan out when it is I'm taking breaks. I'm literally traveling somewhere every single month for the rest of the year. So a lot of the traveling is more personal stuff, a lot of weddings this year. And every single time I travel, I'm taking breaks. I'm taking breaks. So that's kind of how it is. So take a break. One that's more mental thought or a thought exercise is try to, and this is more of like a film thing, I would say, but try to, when you write certain things down, one thing that I've been doing a lot is I'll get the scripts of a certain movie, and while I'm watching a movie, I'll read the script at the same time. So I'll try to see was everything that was planned out in the script, did that translate on screen? And a lot of the times for some of the movies I watch, it is, and then a lot of times it isn't. So what I start to realize now is, a lot of people don't probably do this, but I know a lot of people that do, is a lot of people journal, right? They'll journal about certain things that they're thinking about in life. That's been on their mind or whatever. And sometimes I feel like a good exercise is certain things that you may write, just figure out how that relates to your real life. You know what I mean? So as I'm watching the movie, I have the script either on a phone or print it out, and I'll go along with it, as the movie's going. So in life, I think certain things that you have maybe journaled about, say if you're journaling about a certain situation you have going on at home, you should maybe, as you have that journal there, you should kind of look about your situation and kind of figure out how certain things translate. It kind of goes back into that manifestation and just, kind of self-reflection, and all that kind of stuff. Like, just figure out how these certain things play out in your life, just all that kind of stuff. And I think that works most for me, mainly because as a writer, I do that a lot. But I think that's a good mental exercise, is just kind of writing more and, translating those things on paper into reality. It kind of just goes into that. And then an emotional exercise, it's not going to say it's emotional, but don't be afraid to, like, what I tell people, a good thought exercise that helps me out in my commitment is being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is huge. I am, like, I don't want to say I'm the most vulnerable person I know, because that wouldn't be true. But I am a pretty vulnerable person when it comes to a lot of people. I mean, people, if anyone's ever heard my album No Sweat Pimp that I released, very vulnerable project. My entire life, right after I graduated college is on there, and beyond that, so being vulnerable is super huge. Don't be afraid to be honest about certain things, feelings that you have in your life. For instance, one thing that maybe I'm gonna mention a vulnerable thing for me right now, right? Like, I've noticed a lot of people when I was back home in Indiana, starting to get into doing like film stuff. And Kibwe, I'm sure you probably noticed it too. There's been a lot of people doing videos now, like people who were rappers who are doing videos. And I honestly, I keep it real, but I do not like it. I don't like it. I love that people are doing film. I love that film is getting more attention, but for some reason, it gets me mad because of a few things. Like, one, I'm just a very competitive person. So when I see certain people do certain stuff, I'm like, oh, here's another person I'm gonna have to just headshot and just get off the street. But then it's also like I hate how people treat the art of film. It's like, yo, the art of film is being smothered by just this random ass type of stuff. And, sometimes I feel like it plays a lot maybe into my insecurities, and then also to my ego and a bunch of different stuff. So that's me being vulnerable, I guess, and just being realistic about it, just me being realistic about it. So I say, man, don't be afraid to be vulnerable and open yourself up about certain things. Don't be afraid to open yourself up to certain things. Like, don't be afraid to put yourself in positions where you feel like it might be tough to really delve deep in your emotional stuff. Like, I'm in therapy, and therapy's been great, you know what I mean? And like, I started therapy straight off just the personal issues, you know what I mean? And just like dealing with a breakup that I had. I was mainly just starting off therapy with that. And to me, all of that stuff helped. Being vulnerable in that space, learning how to be more vulnerable in therapy, and then once again translating it into outside of that world where it's just me and my therapist, I realized how that stuff can help me, and I think being a vulnerable person, not necessarily being a vulnerable person, but learning to be more vulnerable with in different situations, it has honestly been my greatest strength. I say vulnerability and creativity is my two greatest strengths, and I think that's what's helped me commit, be overly commit. It's helped me commit a lot, being vulnerable. Because to me, I realize that I'm being my authentic self when I can do that. And it helps take me a long way. So those are my three things. Take a break, do nothing on your breaks, sleep in on your breaks, do nothing, and write down your thoughts. Look at how your thoughts translate to reality. And then once again, learn to be vulnerable, learn to be comfortable in your emotions, learn to be comfortable with who you are and the circumstances that you're put in, and realize how that plays to your commitment for whatever it is that you want to do.
He gave y'all 3 thought exercises. Talk about overachieving, this guy. Listen, man, those are great. That's great. That's those are all things that I really need to work on. So you may not have been saying those to me, but absolutely. I told you guys I do these thought exercises. Y'all think I'm playing. Like, I do these thought exercises. I take them seriously, and I believe just allowing myself to be vulnerable enough to let people tell me or speak into me, maybe something I can add to my arsenal of tools has really helped. So I hope you guys find some value out of these thought exercises, and I hope you'll stick around. We got way more content coming, more great, incredible conversations. So share this with somebody who you care about. You ain't got to share with everybody, but share it with somebody who you care about. Because I believe that that's true. That's the real gift, is to be able to give our lived experiences to others in order for us to get better and not repeat the same issues. So thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Stefon, for being here, man. Tell us where they can find you, your latest projects, how they can
Yeah,
follow you, man. Like, your work that you've been doing is dope, man. It's so dope.
thank you.
So yes, please tell them all about it.
Sweet. So y'all can follow me on so Facebook is just Stefon Whitaker. It's Stefon Whitaker, Whitaker. You'll find me, you'll see me with probably a camera in my hands or something crazy. Um, then you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow my production company, SW Films, at SW Films Production. And you can follow my personal page on Instagram, Arkel96. That's ARKEL96. I post a lot on Instagram, so Instagram is definitely preferable. And you can also follow SW Films on Facebook as well. And of course, SW Films on YouTube and Vimeo. That's where a lot of my work is posted. You can check out all through the playlists. I've posted playlists of all the different projects that I've created in music video realms, commercial realms, and also the miscellaneous projects that I've worked on as far as bigger projects that you can find. Um, of course, things to look forward to. I do plan on putting out my third short film, at least pushing it into film festivals this year. I'm going to start to actually going to be releasing posters and certain trailers and stuff about the short film pretty soon. So keep an eye out on that. My third short film is called Black Rose Wanders. I actually shot that in Indiana right before I moved to California in 2019, and it's going to be finally coming out. So, or at least being pushed out into film festivals. So, I'm very happy about that. And lastly, of course, I did get to work on an awesome project called Blind Spotting. This movie that was shot in Oakland, California, or this TV show, excuse me, this TV show called Blind Spotting that was shot in Oakland. It's based off of the movie called Blind Spotting, which was also shot in Oakland, that came out in 2018. And I got a chance to work on it earlier this year. And it was an amazing experience. I got to meet so many incredible people, and I got to really get a great introduction to Oakland and the Bay Area. It was so beautiful. So beautiful. So please do watch that. It is on Stars. If you do have Stars or the Stars app or whatever, go watch it. It comes out every episode, I think, comes out every Sunday. The first episode is already out. So if you did get it, if you did miss it, go check it out on Stars. It's called Blind Spotting. It's an incredible show. And I think a lot of people, it's going to be amazing. So, give me a follow on all those. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow Vimeo page and follow me on Instagram. Once again, it's SW Films Production and Arkel96 on Instagram. Follow me there. That's where a lot of my stuff is posted. So, and of course, the slogan does always stand at SW Films: every vision made with cinematic excellence. That is something I strive for every single time. So subscribe to me because we got some projects coming out
That's
very soon.
awesome, man. So I did not realize. Well, I guess I did realize this. This is interesting. I was just watching. There's someone I follow on Instagram who's actually one of the writers of Blind Spotting. So I'm sure you
Yeah,
guys probably cross paths or something. That's really interesting. Super small world.
yeah,
Um,
crazy,
yeah, man. Yes. Listen,
crazy.
Stefan's one of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. And I wish you all the best, man. Thank you so much for taking some
Thank
time.
you.
You guys go follow his stuff. I mean, uh, He's a great guy, and there's gonna be a lot of really cool projects that he's gonna be working on. And you gotta stay connected. You gotta stay connected
Yeah.
because you just never know when an opportunity is gonna come up for you to meet somebody or for you to get involved in something that changes your life. And when you're sitting at the table with somebody like Stefan, you just have no idea who he knows in the room. So, yeah.
Wicked.
Thanks, man. Thank you all for
Wicked.
listening. And we will talk to y'all a little bit later. Peace. Empower You podcast is devoted to bringing real world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you.